Welcome to The Walkthrough with Monte Spiller. The Walkthrough is hosted by Go Power Cats Cole Carmody and sponsored by The Wooden Cork. Use the code LIFEOFFITS for your special discount. Now let's get into the studio for The Walkthrough.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in here to The Walkthrough with Monte Spiller. I am Cole Carmody. Joining me, former Kansas State defensive back, Go Power Cat football analyst, Monte Spiller. Monte, first of all, I got to say, a lot of folks around Manhattan, they always wait for the big games. And sometimes the big games happen on Friday nights. And so before we get into these games, Hayes and Manhattan High played one heck of a game last weekend. It was, 10-9 or something like that?
10-8.
10-8. Rock Creek and Wamego played a great game the weekend before. So, you know what? K-State might not be having the season, but I'm going to plug high school football in the area. There's some really good Kansas high school football.
It is, man. And right here where I'm at locally, you kind of mentioned it. Manhattan played a really good Hayes team. We played a couple of weeks ago. We played a really good Wamego team, and they're going to beat a lot of teams later this year. And teams that weren't expected to be really good. Junction City has got off to a pretty decent start. I believe they're 2-1 at this point, and they play Manhattan High Friday night this week as well. So, and it's a couple of teams. Raleigh County is not doing bad, and a few other schools around the area that are pretty decent. Wabaunsee as well. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Friday nights, man, it's a good time. And obviously, you mentioned I'm biased to Rock Creek because I'm a coach there, and my son plays there. So I'm pretty excited about what we've done so far this part in the season.
You know what? If you're coming to Manhattan for the game, I highly suggest, as much as I would love everyone to go visit Mr. Spiller and the Rock Creek Mustangs, get out and go watch Manhattan and Junction City because those games are always really fun. So if you're a high school football fan or if you're just a football fan in general, go check that out because those are always some really fun games. So let's get into this, Monte. K-State, obviously, a bye week last week. We didn't have a show. The last time we had a show was previewing Arizona, but you and I talked, and that's old news. We're not going to talk about the Arizona game. We're going to look back at the first 4 games of the season in the first half of the show, and then we'll get into the UCF Knights in the second half. So as it sits right now, K-State is 1-3, and I don't think they are where anybody expected them to be. If it was national media, local media, players, fans, coaches, nobody expected them to be where they are, but they're right here. And so let me ask you this from a player's perspective. What do you think that mentality was like going into the bye week, and what should they have done, and what do you think they accomplished over these last 2 weeks when there was no game?
Well, personally, if I'm a player, I'm thinking this way. Yeah, we're 1-3. And honestly, that one win doesn't matter. It does to a certain extent if you want to try to get bowl eligible. But if your goals are just to get bowl eligible as a program, they're not great. I'm sorry. Nothing against it. Some schools thrive on that. It's a good money grab. It's good for publicity. It's good for recruiting. Say what you say. But for K-State, we can't be looking for like, hey, if we get to a bowl game, it's a successful season because it won't be in my eyes, and especially going into the season. So if I'm a player, I'm looking at it like this week is a new season. Yeah, we're 1-3. Those 3 losses are behind us. Do we have one conference loss? Yes, we do. Nothing we can do about that. So I'm taking it one game at a time. I'm looking to this weekend just to get a win and build off of that. Because if you can build off of that, who knows? We talked about it before. A lot of teams last year that ended up in the Big 12 race started off slow. And they came on late. And all of a sudden, we're like, wait a minute. Colorado's in the talk. Wait a minute. Iowa State's in the talk. Whoever it is. So K-State has to take that mindset and look at it that way and think, hey, we can get this win. We still can do something special.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, you look at it, and a lot of folks were frustrated, and rightfully so, after the Arizona game. And I think this bye week came at a perfect time. I mean, it could not have come at a better time, not only because of all the travel that this team had to go through, but just with all the trials and adversities and tribulations that this team had to face. And so, here you are, you're 4 games in, you get a bye. You can kind of take a deep breath. And you mentioned it. I would love to have seen what practice would have been like. And we've heard that at least during the bye, it was the best week of practice that they've had arguably since last fall. And, talk is cheap, right? Like you got to prove it on the field, and everyone agrees. But when you go into a bye week and you have a solid week of practice, man, that has to propel you into game week because you feel like, all right, we got some things fixed. Now we just have to roll it over into the game.
I agree. And one thing you didn't mention about the bye week, you gave guys the opportunity to get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we knew there's a lot of guys that like the Dylan Edwards who is highly publicized about his injury, but there are other guys that you don't see that are bruised up, dinged a little bit that makes a difference in a game situation. Those guys who are beat up, they can get healthy and be at full strength, or if not at full strength, close to as full strength as possible. And you come in to this game with an attitude like a fresh start. And if you had great weeks of practices, it normally transitions and translates over to Saturday. So hopefully what Coach Kleiman is saying holds true, and these guys believe in themselves and they have the confidence that I know that they have to see come Saturday morning on the field, and it translates into a win.
You look at where this team is and some of the issues kind of, that have been persisting. And I want to talk about that. Brian Hanley always talks about the offensive line, as do I. I think that's a major area of concern right now. But this was something that they talked about on the pregame show, and I want to get your opinion on this. It feels like at the first 4 games of the season, not just at the offensive line spot, but throughout the whole team, there's a lot of rotating guys in to try and see what you have. I feel like in the past, the bye week was always, okay, you're going to focus on your young guys. You're going to see what you have in practice. Well, if you were a healthy body and you weren't planning on redshirting this season, you probably saw some game time this first 4 weeks of the season. I would have to think there would be less rotating. There would be more of okay, this is our core and this is who we're going to roll with. So in that sense, I really do feel like we might start to see a more defined role for some of these guys on Saturday.
Yeah, I hope so, because it all starts up front, and there can be defensive side of the ball or offensive side of the ball. But specifically speaking, offensive line, it starts up front. And if the offensive line is not clicking, we can't do anything. And it shows. The run game has been pretty much non-existent. The passing game is not bad. Avery's had time in the pocket, but we can't rely on the pass game if you can't run the ball. And one thing people fail to forget, there was a change in coaches. And some people don't realize how significant that is. And when you have new guys coming in and a new coach, that cohesiveness is hard to grab right away. And I get it. I would hope that it'd be better by game 3. It appears that it isn't. Hopefully the bye week played a role in getting those guys together, and we have a set group of 5 that we can run with and move forward with. But I'm looking forward to seeing how the offensive line comes out, because the guys hear the negative talk. I hope they come out, because I always said this, offensive linemen are some of the nastiest guys I've met, but they're also some of the smartest guys.
Yep.
Every team I've ever been a part of, the O-line guys are like academically smart. They're smart guys. So it's not like them busting assignments, but once they figure it out, they get it rolling. It's going to be fun to see what happens. And I'm hoping that's what we see come Saturday.
The players, the coaches, they all talked about identity. What is the identity of this team? What does it need to be of this team? We've heard Travis Bates, defensive end, said he wants the K-State defense to be physical and play smash mouth football, and he wants that to be the identity of the K-State defense. By the way, I think that's a pretty good idea, Mr. Bates. But I think that's going to be something that I come out and watch for, not just on Saturday, but for the rest of the season, is where does that identity start to show itself? Maybe not what is the identity, but where do we actually see it? Do we see it in the attitude? Do we see it? I don't want to say effort, because if you can't play football at this level and not try hard, because if you don't play with effort, then you're not going to play, right? Somebody else will take your spot. But you could have a bad attitude and still be the best guy on at your spot. And so you have to play. But where does that show? That's what I'm going to be looking for. And so I'll pose this question to you. We can break it down between offense and defense, and we'll look at that here in a second. But just in general, what does the identity of this team need to be for the rest of the season?
Well, defensive-wise, you have to be assignment sound, first of all. Before you can be nasty, before you can be violent, before you can be physical, you got to know what's going on. Because if you're not in the right place to make the right play, you can't be physical. You can't lay a guy out. You can't box the edge in. You can't dent it. No matter how good or how much you want to, you got to know your assignment and be in the right place. And then at that point, once you know where to line up, once you know where to be, then you can make plays. The coach's job is to get the guys lined up. It's the player's job to understand what the coach wants and to be in the right spot. And then they go do their thing. I don't doubt one bit that we got guys that can lay the wood, that can be physical. I've seen them do it multiple times with the guys that we had last year and the new guys. Watching film on them from their previous teams, they're capable. But like you was talking about, the identity of the defense has a bend but don't break. But we don't want to get into the position where we're bending. We want to be the ones to be the aggressor. We want to impose our will on everybody we play, and then and not do it dirty, but do it to a point where it's within the lines. But you have other teams going, coach, don't run that play again. Don't run that right there. That guy's coming. Switch it up or something, to the point where teams are thinking twice about what they do. But our defense has to be physical and fast as a whole, identity-wise. Now, offensive-wise, same thing. We got to run the ball. If that's with Avery or if that with the running backs, and we have to implement our tight ends to give them a little more. They got to be involved. They got to be involved in the run game, blocking, and then releasing downfield. But you got to find a way to get the ground game going before the passing game opens up. And I know I'm like the same way. Run Avery, but you got to put Avery in a situation where he has a H-back, a fullback, a tight end leading up in the hole, letting him make a cut and do what he does. You got to protect him, but you also got to cut him loose.
No doubt. And, on these Tuesdays and Wednesdays where we don't have football, because it seems like, those days just magically appear, like, Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday go by so quickly. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, you're sitting there like, oh, what am I going to do? I watched Remember the Titans, Monty, and one of my favorite scenes from there is when Coach Yost is talking to his defense and he says, they don't get another yard. Right. And it's that attitude that permeates, and I understand it's a movie, right? But like, it's that attitude that you have to have in order to be a successful team. And it starts from the top down. I think if K-State just plays loose, like it's crazy to say, because, very rarely for football anyway, do you see a team get into a funk. Sure, it happens as a basketball player. You can't shoot the ball very well. You get in your own head. As a baseball player, you can't hit. You get in your own head. It feels like at times this K-State defense in particular has kind of gotten in its own head, and they just need to go out and play loose. And they talk about simplifying things, Monty. Do you agree? Is it just simplification, or how do you play loose as a defender?
No, you have to. Sometimes you got to make adjustments. But coming out, like I said, if you want to impose your will on the offense, you have to do what you do best. And if it's that, like, look at your personnel. If we got fast, athletic guys that fly to the ball, keep it simple and trust that each person is going to do their job and let them fly around. Keep it simple. Don't thinking, because when you're overthinking, you play slow. Excuse me. You know that, Cole. If you think too much, you play slow. It is what it is. And when bad things happen, let it go. Move on to the next one. I got to say, and Coach Stephen and I both agree with this with our defense. If something bad happens, our kids want to complain. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We don't care. Figure it out. Find a way. And we don't want to talk about, because it doesn't matter. And that's the attitude K-State has to have. It doesn't matter. We still going to find a way.
Offensively, you brought up rushing Avery, and we'll get into that, I think, more specifically with the game plan against UCF here in a second. But Dylan Edwards is going to play in this game against UCF, and they talked to Matt Wells on Thursday and asked him what kind of difference he can make. And he's like, well, the starting running back. Like, we didn't have our starting running back for 4 games of the season. Now, is that kind of an excuse? Can you say other guys have to step up? Yeah, I mean, it sounds like both. It can be both. It can be an excuse, but it also can be true that other guys have to step up. And we really didn't see that in the games K-State lost. I thought against North Dakota, Joe Jackson and Devon Rice both stepped up. In the games that K-State lost, we didn't really see that out of those backs. Doesn't say that they're not going to be good football players, because I think they have some bright futures at K-State. But now you get Dylan Edwards back. And talking about identity, I feel like having that yin to the yang, which is Avery Johnson, really changes the identity. And if they can find a way to keep him healthy, I really do believe we could see a different K-State offense for the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Dylan brings such a dynamic playing style to the field. And as a defensive coach, you have to honor that. And you have to know where he's at all the time on the field. And then also, like you talked about, him and Avery, they boys. And a lot of people don't realize you trust each other as a quarterback, running back, or a quarterback receiver. When you're on the field together, you just know each other. And you can give him a look and understand, hey, this is what's going on, and make plays happen. And that's something that K-State has lacked. There are times where we show flashes, but not consistently. And I think Dylan has that second gear. If you look at the bowl game, somebody asked, can he be a true running back? We use him inside, outside, and in the passing game. And that forces defense to adjust. And if they're focusing on him, that's going to allow the tight ends to become open. That's going to allow different receivers to be open. He's a difference maker. So yes, I think he will make a difference. But the key is he has to stay healthy, and also Coach Wells has to put him in a position to make the plays. And we can't just run up the middle if our line's not blocking like we think they should.
Right. Yep. Well, let's get into this game. Kansas State, as we mentioned, 1-3, hosting UCF, who's 3-0, 11 a.m. on FS1 at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. K-State enters this game, Monty, as a 6.5-point favorite, according to the books. They are a touchdown favorite to win this game. We'll talk about that here in a second, but I want to briefly touch on UCF. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch much of the Knights, but 3-0, and they're a team who's playing with a lot of confidence. They had their bye week early in the season, and they just beat North Carolina, and they absolutely demolished them. Now, the Tar Heels are not exactly a very quality team, but this is a team that's playing with a lot of confidence, and that could be scary.
Yeah. I actually did watch that game with the interest of them playing us this coming week. And so they got some talent. And it's one of those things where they kind of have taken on the identity of their coach.
Yeah.
And even with Scott Frost's first tenure at Central Florida, UCF, they bought into what he was selling pretty quick. And it's one of those things where a lot of times people look at UCF as a smaller school. They put them in the same category as South Florida. But if you know, like I know, and I played ball with a bunch of boys from Florida when I was here at K-State, they deep, just like any other big state, Texas, Georgia. You might not be at the UTs, you might not be at the Florida, you might not be at Florida State. They got dudes that can play, that can probably play anywhere, Big 12, SEC, Big 10. And for whatever reason, they ended up at UCF. They can play. Now, they're not a top 15 team, maybe top 25, but they're not top 15 team at this point. And I think we have matchups that we can exploit. But that goes back to physicality and speed. But they are a team that I respect, and I'm surprised to see that we're favored as much as we are.
Yeah, and you mentioned speed. That's the thing that stands out to me is they have really good team speed. And a lot of transfers on this team, including the quarterback, Taven Jackson, a dual threat guy. And I said this before, he kind of reminds me of Sam Levitt from Arizona State, kind of a bigger quarterback. He hasn't really pushed the ball down the field that much, kind of more of a mid-range quarterback, check downs, but he'll use his legs and he'll run. And so containing him, I think, is going to be important for K-State. But I look at the interior of their offensive line. If you're K-State, I really think you can take advantage of this UCF offensive line. Monty, I'm going to give you some stats here. I thought this was fascinating. Miles Montgomery is the main running back for UCF. He averages 3.6 yards a carry. As a team, UCF has ran for 607 yards, and they average 5.9 yards a carry. And that sounds really good. But when you break it down even more, they ran for 2.9 yards against Jacksonville State and only 4 yards against North Carolina. The reason that number is so high is because they played North Carolina A&T and won 68-7. Yep. And so I think K-State can win the line of scrimmage in this game. And if they do that, they can really, really jump out and maybe even play from the lead in this game on Saturday.
I agree. I think K-State needs to have a physicality, like we talked about it, approach. UCF has more speed than we do, and it is what it is. But I feel like we have the capability to be the more physical team. And I feel like if we come out physical, we can control the clock and control the line of scrimmage. We have a really good chance of winning the game. Central Florida's quarterback, he is a guy that takes risks. And if the first read's not there, he might go to the second read. But if not, he can pull it down and run the ball, and he will. And he will throw some balls into double coverage. So opportunity for interceptions do exist for us. But like I said, we got to put pressure on them. Don't let it get them in the groove. And the one thing I noticed about this team, they're gritty. If they get confidence, they get rolling, it can get ugly real quick. But if you shut them down, they not saying they point fingers, but it's kind of like question marks on the sideline, like who had what. And I watched that during games. So I like our opportunity that we have.
First true road game for UCF as well. I don't think that's an insignificant thing right there. With the new staff, they're going to have different routines as before. They definitely didn't do them any favors by not giving them a road game, scheduling a road game in the non-conference. They had a fairly easy, to be quite frank, non-conference, but here they are, first conference game opening up on the road for the Knights. Defensively for UCF, they forced 4 interceptions. They recovered 2 fumbles. I don't really know what to make of this defense because, quite frankly, I think the offenses that they've played have been garbage. Like, you watch that North Carolina offense and they stink. They are bad. That offense is horrible. And so if you're K-State, what do you take from this UCF defense? Is it hard to look at film and be like, okay, this team, we can do more than this team, but like, I guess what can you expect from a team who hasn't really been challenged?
That's a good question, and it's one of those things where they have film of us, and the film that they have of us is not very good.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to come in here with a false sense of confidence, which if that's the case, I hope that's the case. But a good thing for us, we had a bye week like you spoke about. They did not, and we had 2 weeks to prep for them. So we could come out with something totally different that they're not expecting. We got different pieces back, i.e. Dylan. We go from there. But for K-State, I think we should be confident knowing that if we do what we're coached to do, it doesn't matter what they do because we have the pieces to go out and take it. So if I'm a coach, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you're going to adjust to what they do and be prepared. But on the offensive side of the ball, we're going to dictate what happens and see if they can stop us.
Yeah, it feels like sometimes K-State will be very vanilla to open the game, then they'll adjust to what the defense is showing them. But I really think K-State needs to come out and take the big swing, like take the first swing, throw a haymaker in the beginning part of the game to not only kind of get some buy-in from your team, but get that crowd into the game. If K-State hits on a few big plays to open the game, they score a touchdown on the opening drive, they're up 7-0 before breakfast or lunch is being served at McDonald's. I don't know when they change over from the breakfast to the lunch menu, but if you get an early lead against this team on Saturday morning, I think you can really get the crowd into it. And there's a lot of intangibles I think that K-State needs to get to make sure that they have a great opportunity in this game. And I think getting off to a fast start is one of them. I really believe this is a great opportunity for K-State to get back on track. But we talked about Dylan. I want to see how he's used, Monte, because I really feel like he can be a weapon for this team. And if they can just find a way to get him the ball in space, I mean, even those little tiny spaces, he's able to maneuver his way in there and make a big play. I hope he's not on a pitch count. He wasn't on the injury report. I really believe that he could be the X factor in this game for K-State.
I agree. We need to use him up. We need to use him. And I pray that he stays healthy. But if he's healthy, use him, and we'll worry about next week. Let's get the win, take advantage of him, get him back into the game, put some good stuff on film to force other teams to prepare for him. But if he can give us a good chance to win the game, take advantage of it. And I know he has capability. He's done it. His college career, his high school career, take advantage of it. Use him up and give him an opportunity. And then after that fact, it's going to open up opportunities for other players. So I think if he's healthy, that's a good thing for us.
Coming out of the bye week, Monte, for you, when you played, were you always chomping at the bit, right? Like it feels like K-State hasn't played in forever. It's because they haven't played in 15 days by the time the game kicks off on Saturday. Is that one of those things where like you're not worried about this team playing with energy? Because if you're not fired up to play another football game, then you must not be human.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Keep in mind, I played for Coach Snyder, and so he took advantage of every hour available in the day. So we were ready to hit somebody else because if we had downtime, we were getting better. He found a way to dictate our schedules where it was within NCAA rules, but it was to the minute. And he took advantage of it, and that's what made his team so great. So I'm not mad about it now. But yeah, as a player, you love your teammates, and it's like camp again. You're like, man, I want to hit somebody else. And the fact that we were on the road the last time we played, we came off a loss. We had a long trip back from Arizona. You get back, everybody's bad-mouthing us, talking about how bad we are, this, and that, what's going to happen. And you got an opportunity to be home. And I'm kind of glad it's an 11 o'clock game. I really am. For my personal reasons and also for the team. They get up, they get going. They know we're home. The fans will get up feeling good Saturday morning. And Central Florida has to travel. And I think if the fans get behind the players right away, and if I'm a player coming out of tunnel for warm-up and I see our student section there, the band's rocking, and people still believe in us, I'm going to be ready. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to let my teammates down. I don't want to let the fans down.
As we start to kind of look at this game and break down kind of our predictions and our keys, I talked about Dylan Edwards, but I'm curious what you think. If K-State wants to win this game, we'll get into our score predictions here coming up. But if K-State wants to win this game, what do they have to do? Like, what is the key for K-State to walk away with a win on Saturday?
Well, both sides of the ball, man, you got to be assignment sound. On defense, you got to be assignment sound, and we got to rally to the ball. We see a few guys, like obviously we had a couple of guys got some targeting penalties, and I never want to have another player like seriously injured. But when I saw that, I was like, about time. And I'm not saying it being dirty, but yes, that's the kind of intensity we need on defense. Yes. On the flip side, offensive wise, we have to be confident, and even if it's a fake confidence, I feel like whatever our offense runs out on the field, we look unsure. I want to see confidence. I want to see get in the huddle, dap everybody up, call the play, whatever play we got called, get some positive yards, and get it moving. We got to start fast, like you said. We got to start fast on offense, and on defense, we got to come out physical. If we start, even if we don't get a touchdown on the first drive, get points, that's a positive. If we put the ball, that's a positive. You know what I mean? Get the run game going. If you see confidence in the O-line, I feel good about that. Defense-wise, know your assignment and be physical.
Here's what I would do, Monte. If K-State wins the toss, I would take the ball.
Absolutely.
I would take the ball, and I would send a message. It has nothing to do with UCF. You're sending a message to your own team. We are going to get started on the right foot. We believe in this group of guys. We believe in our game plan. We believe in our coaching staff. We think we drew up 10 plays that are better than the 10 plays that the other team is going to be able to run to stop us, and go down and get points and start fast. And if it's a 3 and out and it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Then it's the defense's turn to step up. Like, complementary football, I think, is what this team needs to play. We've seen the offense play good at times. We've seen the defense play good at times. But we haven't seen, in the special team as well, we haven't seen all three phases work in conjunction together. I want to see that on Saturday. They don't even have to play good, Monte. If they just play better, they have a really, really good opportunity to win this game.
I agree, man. Like, if you think about the games we've lost, Army game came down late, Arizona game, we made mistakes. Even the Iowa State game, if you think about it, I can't think of the running back's name when he fumbled. We were moving the ball, and that fumble happens. That changed the dynamic of the game. We still had a chance to win that game. We could easily be 4-0, easily. But we're not. It is what it is. But I'm with you on that, too. We need to come out confident. Our coaches need to show confidence in our players, and our players need to have confidence in each other. And it's one of those things where I believe that our kids deep down know they're going to win this game. I think they do. And I feel like we're still alive. You know, if you look at college football right now, I'm not saying they did, but Oklahoma State threw in the towel. When you fire a coach, UCLA threw in the towel. Virginia Tech threw in the towel. We are still playing for a Big 12 championship. And if you like, Texas Tech is a surprise team, not a surprise team, but they're kind of heads above it right now. Arizona State was picked to be up there. They faltered. You know, it's wide open. It's a lot of games to be played. And take it one at a time. We start by winning Saturday, and we have new life. We forget about the 3-1 record. 1-3 record. We got a new life. So I think we'll be okay.
You know, I came into this week, Monte, and I was really struggling to figure out who I thought was going to win this game. But the more that I heard the players talk, the more I heard, Coach Kleiman talk, and just like knowing the resolve of some of those guys, like, it has gone as bad as it could possibly have gone the first 4 games of the season. And we're going to find out a lot about this group. You know, we think we have an idea of what we might see. We think they might come out and play inspired. But if they don't, that's going to tell us a lot about what this 2025 version of Kansas State looks like. You know, I'd like to believe that this team comes out with some fire. And if they come out with some fire, then I think that it's just going to kind of calm some people around this program. It's going to calm some of the players. It's going to calm some of the fans. Say, okay, take a step back. You win this game. And then, as you said, it's a new season. And whatever happens the rest of the way, happens the rest of the way. But I think K-State has a great opportunity on Saturday to get a win. And as we wrap up the show and get to our predictions, that's exactly what I'm going to predict happens. I think K-State wins this game 31-27. I think UCF is probably a little bit better than people thought they were going to be coming into the season. And maybe K-State's not as good. But I know this. I know that the home crowd and the fans in Manhattan can make an impact on this game. Let's not forget that. Those people who drive hours and hours to watch this team play make their presence felt. And I think they're going to be the reason why K-State wins this game. 31-27 Cats. What say you?
I'm not going that high. I'm going 21-17. I think K-State makes it a point to get their running game going, especially with Dylan being back. We get up early, we play some ball control, kill a little bit of clock, allow our defense to stay off the field, get some rest. Because if you notice the first 2 games, our defense has played a lot of snaps, man. And so I think they need a little more break. And the less they're on the field, the more energized they are when they're on the field. So I'm going 21-17. And you're exactly right about the crowd. You know, K-State is one of the first schools, if not the first school, to put out the brand family. You know, Coach Snyder's big on that. Nike jumped up on it. Other companies jumped on it. Now everybody says family, but I feel like we're one of the originals schools team to do it, if not the original. And keep in mind, you love your family. You get mad at your parents. You get mad at your kids, but you forgive them and you continue to support them. Now, I'm not saying make excuses for them, but you get on them, but you support them no matter what. So that's what I'm asking the K-State family. Have I been frustrated with the boys? Absolutely. But I'm not going to quit on them. You know, so when it's third down, get loud. When we get a first down, get loud. When we make a big play, get loud. When UCF is on offense, get loud, man. Come out, enjoy the day, and kick off the day right for our boys, and let's go get a win.
It's going to be a great one. Thanks, everybody, so much for watching the Walkthrough with Monte Spiller. I'm Cole Carmody. That is Monte Spiller. Kansas State and UCF, 11 a.m. Saturday morning, Bill Snyder Family Stadium. Enjoy the game wherever you may be, and we will talk to you next week.
Thank you for watching The Walkthrough with Monte Spiller. Make sure you check out our sponsor, The Wooden Cork, and use the code LIFEOFFITS for your discount. This has been a Go Power Cat and Spirit Street production.